Hi, this is just a very brief walkthrough of the interactive music system for streetscale. What we're looking at is the import audio elements that are currently brought in for the two stops that have interactive audio. The first is Connolly's shop, which is illustrated in a previous video here on YouTube, and you can see I mentioned things to do with the soundscape and to do with also a soundscape loop. There you go, which is this file here. You can see how it loops. I've got everything looped in, and it's also fading at this point. We can just click on here, an element. Okay, so that's the original loop that I can work with, and I've got some random containers that show a certain amount of Maura's testimony and some silence to give some randomization. So every time you work with it, you don't always just hear the voice. Sometimes you hear silence as well. You can set these files to loop indefinitely. I think if you noticed on this one, I'll open it up so you can see. There you go, on the right it says loop infinitely, so that gives us that element. And then with our options here, you can also look at the individual audio files. And no, I've not set these to loop, so in other words, you hear one, and because they're kept inside of a random container, they shuffle. Basically, they move around. They're random, continuously shuffle. So, and I've got two random containers within there. One is called Maura, one is called Michael, which represent the buttons that you see on the website. So we've got Soundscape Loop and Maura and Michael, and that's basically Connolly's. If you go over to be able to trigger those, then you could see here we've got a trigger, an event called play. So when you press the button, you trigger the event called play, and what that does is it plays the soundscape for you. You can hear. Yeah, that's what works. And then we've got another event for the same as Connolly shop, and it's called testimony, and that works between the two voices. So if it's between 0 and 49, it will play Maura. If it's above that, 51 and over, it will always play Michael. Yeah, and it just with silence triggered then as you work through. So that's the elements, is that it gives you that approach of using some sort of the interactive middleware that we would usually use within game production. I think it's very interesting for web.